Hi everybody! Just a quick update before I get to something a little more fun today. First off, I had an audition Saturday via Zoom. Second, Monday was the 6th episode of the ASC webinar series. This one was about creating your own content. Very useful nowadays. Third, I did the audit last week for the acting coach that I've been listening to on Backstage webinars. It was good. It is a little overpriced for my budget currently, and maybe if I'm at a place where I'm a little further along in my acting career, it'd be viable, but right now, not really something I'm going to pursue, but I'm going to keep it in mind for maybe the future. Fifth, and the most exciting update for this week, I received my microphone today. I haven't gotten a chance to play with it yet. It came with a little pouch that has the cord and the little stand and everything for it. So I'll probably be playing with that for the rest of the week. Hopefully I can get my demo taped soon. But yeah, exciting! So now on to something a little more fun. This is a theater acting experience survey. I think I posted it to my Facebook page a couple months ago, but I figured this would give me a chance to give a little bit of commentary to the answers. Because, you know, if you're doing it in the post where you post a survey, it gets a little too long, didn't read. But this gives me a chance to expound on it a little more. I did replace one question because it was a weird question that was just, have you played a character? I think all actors have played a character. Question number 1. Have you ever played a murderer? No. Not in a show, at least. I did have to play Lady M a couple times in one of my classes. I did a scene and I did a monologue, the out them spot monologue. But those were just for classes, so not actually in a performance. Number 2, have you ever played an animal? Yes! In junior high, we did a Rocky and Bullwinkle skit, and it wasn't even a role that needed to be played, but I wanted to do it. There was a dodo bird that Rocky and Bullwinkle see in the distance, and I asked, can I be the dodo bird? And I hopped across stage, just going, dodo, dodo, dodo. Also, in 8th grade, my junior high art teacher had his own PBS children's show called B.N. Explorer. The letters B, N, and then Explorer. And he had a course for the 8th grade classes where you could help build and paint set pieces for his show. It was my first real stage crew experience, I guess, but for one of the shows he needed to have a mouse that lived under the bleachers. I think it was for during a basketball game, so an inside gymnasium, but I'm not sure. So he asked me if I would be willing to play the voice of the mouse. So that was my first actual televised experience for a PBS Kids show, voicing a mouse, because my voice was always rather high-pitched. Number 3, have you ever played a villain? Yes. A friend of mine used to do a web series, and I filmed 3 episodes of it, but only the 1 episode ever aired before he stopped doing it. And I played Lisa, and she was kind of a manipulative bitch that kind of messed up one of the characters for life. So that was me. I also got to shove the director, my friend, in one of the scenes, and that scene never made it on YouTube, and I'm very sad. I would love to see that scene. Number 4, have you ever worked with an Oscar/Tony/Emmy winner? Technically, yes. I used to work with a guy at the Renaissance Fair who later won an Emmy for, I believe, directing, and he actually brought it to a Renaissance Fair where he came to visit us, and there's a photo out there of me that is holding the Emmy. That it was my friend's Emmy. It is a real Emmy. Number 5, have you ever undressed on stage? No. I have gotten dressed on stage, but I have never actually taken my clothes off on stage, which is really strange considering all the dance and circus I do, but no. Number 6. Have you ever had a stage kiss? No. And it is one of the biggest sources of anxiety for me. I'm so worried that I'm going to get my first stage kiss and I'm not going to know what to do. I haven't even needed to do a stage kiss in a class, so completely no. Part of me wants it to just happen and get it out of the way and get it over with, and then there's another part of me that's a little sentimental that's kind of like, this is my chance to redo having my first kiss. I kind of want it to be with something good, an actor that I connect with, not just here's a scene to work on in class, you guys got a kiss, which I've seen happen in some of my classes, but not to me yet. Number 7. Have you ever played a ghost? Yes. Again, going all the way back to junior high, we did a female version of A Christmas Carol, and I played Josephine Marley. Got to haunt my friend who was playing Abigail Scrooge. Okay, I'm back. I had to go take a break, and I lost all my daylight hours, but as I was recording, there was some high-pitched screaming coming from the other room. My mother was on a video call with my nephew, so I had to go sit and talk to my nephew. He's 2 years old, and they live in Los Angeles, so I'm a little far away from them. I don't get to see him in person very often. Anyhow, on with the questions. Question 8. Have you ever been in a staged fight? Yes. Nothing major, nothing really complicated. In Drink about 2 years ago, we had a skit that was Power Ranger-esque, except I was Sailor Moon being a Power Ranger. But we had the big battle at the end, and I threw some kicks and some punches, fell to the ground, and, Power Ranger style. But I've done a few other small pushes and shoves and things like that, but not a major fight. And it's really sad because I'd love to do that. I've taken some stage combat. I started a certification course that was being taught by Chuck Coyle, got canceled, unfortunately, but I took other classes throughout the years, and stage combat comes down to choreography. You need to remember the choreography, and as a dancer, as an acrobat, choreography is easy for me. And then add in that I've taken a few forms of martial arts, so I know the fighting style. One of these days I would love to really be able to utilize that, but we'll see. Question number 9. Have you ever been in a Shakespeare production? Yes! I was just recently this year in a production of The Tempest, where I played Prospera. Female Prospera, not Prospero. And also I had once been in a production of Midsummer Night's Dream, but I didn't have any lines. I was sort of an ambient fairy. They wanted someone to tumble and dance around the stage to look otherworldly. Number 10. Had a wardrobe malfunction. Okay, who hasn't? Clothes malfunction on stage. You step on a skirt, or you get snagged on a piece of set, or somebody else gets snagged on your clothes, or fasteners that were hastily fastened in quick change come apart, or things happen. There's so many costume malfunctions that have happened that it's one of those things you don't even take note. I couldn't tell you a specific instance, but it happens. Number 11. Eaten real food on stage. Yes. In A Doll's House, at the very beginning, Nora comes in and she's eating macaroons. So I didn't have macaroons, but, well, I did at one point. But I was eating cookies most of the time. I got little tiny Chips Ahoy cookies and would eat those. Number 12. Been injured during a show. Yes. I've never been injured on stage during a show. However, when I did West Side Story, we were rehearsing the Dream Ballet scene, and I came down on the side of my foot doing a barrel leap and sprained my ankle. So I was out for a couple weeks for that. But it wasn't actually on stage. So yes-ish. 13. Been paid for a performance. Technically, yes. I do get paid to do a one-weekend Renaissance fair once a year. Beyond that, I haven't quite gotten to paying roles. That's what I am working on changing right now. The audition that I had a couple weeks ago would have been for a paying role. So I'm at that point where I should be able to start booking more paying roles, but still much on the lower end, unfortunately. Number 14. Sung in a show. Yes. Now, I have a thing about singing on stage that really is a whole video unto itself. But in West Side Story, obviously, we sang. I was a shark, so I sang, but only in the chorus, so not a big deal. And then in Drink, which was much a surprise to me because I did not know singing was included when I took the role, we did a song for the opening number and closing number, and I just kind of sucked it up and did it, but I was super, super, super nervous about it. Number 16. Played a child. I answered yes to this online, and I've been struggling to think of when. I think maybe I included when I was in junior high and we did Peanuts. So I played Sally, Charlie Brown's little sister. I guess it still technically counts because I was a teenage, well, I was a preteen at that time, but I was still playing someone who would have been a much smaller child, even though I was still a child. I can't think of any time since then, though. Even when I did Rugrats and Drink, I was an older version. So I'm not sure. That's got to be what I was thinking of. Number 17. Died on stage. Yes. Technically. So there's two things that could count here. One is that Sailor Moon Power Ranger-esque thing, because at the end I get knocked down by the villain, and it's a question of, did I die? Am I just knocked out? What happened? Don't know. So maybe there. There was also, in high school, we did a production of The Mousetrap, and I was on stage crew. I wasn't actually in the show, but the show starts off with an investigation of a woman who has been murdered. So last minute, the director decided he wanted to open the show with a scream, which would be the woman being murdered. He didn't want to use any of his cast, obviously, didn't want anyone's voice to be recognizable, although it was a scream. But also the cast is getting ready and they're getting in their places. So I volunteered to do the scream. So at the top of Mousetrap, lights go out, I let it loose. Blood-curdling scream. So technically I was off stage, but I was just behind the set. So I was on stage. Technicality. Number 18. Choreographed a show. No. Not credited, at least. In A Doll's House, Nora does a very poorly executed tarantella. She's trying to show that she doesn't remember the dance, so she does it poorly, and I choreographed that bit. Also, I've choreographed small bits for dance shows or other little things. So I've never been the choreographer, but I have done choreography. Number 19. Directed a show. No. And I'm not sure that I want to. A lot of actors go into some form of directing at some point, or they'll direct an episode of a show they're on or something, but as much as I think I could do a good job as a director, I really don't want the responsibility of it. So maybe one day I experiment with it, but at this point I don't think it's really up my alley. I like to be on this side of the camera, not on that side. Number 20. Ushered or house managed a show. Yes, lots of times. In high school, my freshman and sophomore year, I ushered for most of the shows, And then when I moved back to Chicago from Florida, I started working as a house manager for a performing arts center, which included at the time Northlight Theater, which now has its own premises, but I was the house manager, most of the nights of the week. And it was great. I got to see so many shows that I wouldn't have gotten to see. I also ushered one night of a show at Steppenwolf. I was interviewing for a house manager position there, and they wanted me to come in and see how it worked and usher for one night, so I got to do that. Number 21, experienced effects of a theater ghost. No. Ghosts in general do not tend to be active around me. I think they're a little scared of me or something, I don't know. Except for my grandmother, who likes to turn lights on and off on me. It's really kind of annoying. I have felt the presence of something, but nothing's ever happened. Number 22, used dialects. Yes, of course. I worked for Renaissance fairs. I worked at Bristol for 5-6 years, and I still do a one weekend fair in Oregon, Illinois called Stronghold every single year. I also travel to Kansas City Renaissance Fair and to the Minnesota Renaissance Fair. So I learned an English accent, and my English accent, when I'm settled into it, has fooled Brits. I've had several Brits ask me, "Oh, what part of England are you from?" Pick a random southern English town. There! I also spoke in an English accent the whole time that I was actually in England, and I was getting frequent shopper cards and whatnot, so I guess it's good enough. I also can do a pretty spot-on Southern American accent, as when I was first learning how to talk, I lived in the Atlanta area, so my original accent is a Southern American accent. Number 23, worked with animals. No, except for one promotional photo shoot on a horse. Otherwise, no. Number 24, improvised to cover a technical issue. Yes. Again, this is sort of like the costume malfunctions. Lights go on early, lights flicker off, sound cues don't happen. Their technical issues are just something that you learn to deal with when they happen. And they're so numerous, you really don't even think about them. Number 25, performed in an outdoor theater. Yes, again, Renaissance fairs. Number 26, fired a prop gun on stage. Yes, I worked at a Wild West town one summer, and occasionally I got to perform in the stunt show. The guy who ran the place was extremely sexist and wouldn't allow the women to be shot at, but there was one role that didn't get shot at, which meant I didn't get to learn the really cool falls from the tall buildings and whatnot, but I got to be in the show and fire off 2 or 3 shots at other people. Number 27, been in a show with a spouse or significant other. No, I did date someone when I was working at the Renaissance Fair, who also worked at the Renaissance Fair, but we didn't really interact throughout the day by his own machinations, so I'm going to say no to that one. Number 28, been in a show that performed in more than one venue. No, not yet. At least not with acting. I did a dance show in high school that traveled around to different schools, but not acting. Number 29, been in a show with your parent, child, or sibling. Big no. My parents would never do anything acting. They hate it. They think I'm insane for wanting to be an actress. My brother used to do some work as a background extra, but he was never bit by the acting bug, really. He just wanted to make easy money. Number 30, how many different states have you done shows in? I originally said just one, But then I remembered that technically the Bristol Renaissance Fair is in Wisconsin, so I have performed in 2 states as of now. And if you want to count the trip I took to the Kansas City Renaissance Fair and the Minnesota Renaissance Fair, there's those 2 states as well. So maybe 4. Depends on what you count. I wasn't on the cast at those 2 fairs. I did not pay for entry. I stayed with shop owners. I was in full costume, full character, and I knew other performers there that I interacted with. So for all intents and purposes, I was performing, but I wasn't officially cast. So number 31. Have you gotten married on stage? No. Not even almost. No. Number 32. Have you played the parent of a child actor? Yes. In A Doll's House, Nora has 3 children. And for the run of the show, we had 5 or 6 different children that would rotate in to play the children. There were also technically my Mirandas in The Tempest, but they were older, they were teenagers, so I don't count them as children. Number 33, performed outside of the United States. Acting? No. Dance? Yes. I performed in a belly dance hafla in Rome, Italy. Number 34, have you ever fallen off stage? No. At least not by accident. I may have fallen off stage on purpose. I don't remember any instances, but I did play a tumbler at the Renaissance Fair, so it's very possible. Number 35, have you ever danced in a show? Yes. I have danced in dance shows, obviously, but I danced in A Doll's House, I danced in West Side Story, I danced a little bit in Drink. I'm a dancer. If there's an opportunity to dance in a show, I'm gonna dance in a show. So absolutely. So there you go, 35 questions about what I have and have not done. I don't know what I'm gonna do next week just yet. It might be another update video, might be another fun video, maybe I'll explain my singing thing. But until then, take care.